The gold right here. If you're really thinking about whether you should go out on your own or you should not, there's a lot of things to consider. I'm going to say thanks for kind of being a little bit of a buzzkill, because now you got me thinking about a lot of other things. Let's go ahead and tuck in and watch the final portion of my interview on BlatzChatz. I want to switch gears a little bit, though. You both have worked in-house as a researcher or strategist, and now you've kind of struck out on your own. So my question to you is, what do you feel like it takes to be successful, to break out of the in-house role and go and start your own consultancy firm?
To be successful at it, I still don't really know.
Fair. That's fair. I know we all struggle with kind of finding our voice and showcasing our value, but what do you think it takes to, maybe the bravery that it takes to go out on your own? And what was that like?
I think it's about deeply understanding what motivates you and what you value and the type of work that you're interested in doing, while understanding that you're going to have to do a lot of work that you don't want to do. So in-house, I used to complain about recruitment because I just don't want to do recruitment. I want research ops. I don't want to do these 3 things that have to do with research. They're just annoying. And I realize that what I have done going out on my own is, wow, I hate being legal. I hate being finance. I hate being tech support sometimes. So I think there has to be this understanding of, yes, you are going out to do the job. So let's take research consultancy. You are going out to be a researcher and being a research consultant and doing research projects. Yes, you are also marketing. You're also sales. You're also legal, you're also finance, you're also customer support, right? So yes, you are going out to do the job of a researcher, but in that space, you are doing the job of a lot of different things as well, which is something that I don't think I appreciated when I started. I was cool. I get to be my own boss, like yippee. But even when it comes to content creation or my membership or my mentorship, it's the same courses. It's the same kind of thing. Unfortunately, as much as I would love it for me to just be, I have this great idea and I don't even have to put it out there and somehow people will find my website and buy it. That's every stakeholder's dream, right? And we've told stakeholders that's not how it works. Yet here I am running my own company being, I had this great idea and then it flops. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. Right. And that usually means that I didn't do research to understand the problem space, or I didn't sell or market it correctly, or I didn't price it correctly. That's just how companies work. And I think that I didn't realize that quite as much as I wish I had when I started going out on my own. So I think truly understanding and being okay with wearing all those hats, which doesn't feel good right away, but you learn it through time. I also had quite a hard time with people not really understanding that I'm a human, but I'm also a company. And I understand, if people haven't been in this experience, the number of times that I had people be, I need your help. I need your help. I need your help. I need your help for free, usually. And I know that I am here. I'm trying to help. I create as much free content as I can. But in addition to that, I don't have an income other than me charging people for my time, essentially. So that's something that I think is really difficult as well to get a handle on, at least for me as a company, because I'm not Netflix, right? I'm not behind a company. I am very much me. And that's a tough one, I think, for people to understand. And also for us as potentially solopreneurs to manage expectations. But I think that ultimately it's really about understanding, okay, what do I value? What do I want from life? What are things that are important to me versus things that aren't as important to me? And then how does that work within a consultancy or a coaching or a business? I don't know if I answered the question.
No, it was great. I can totally appreciate going out on your own and not really understanding all that's under the hood, right? And being exposed to, like you said, legal and tech. You have to fix your own issues.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
hate
mean,
being
it's like
legal.
tech
That was
support.
the
It's
worst.
legal. And you know what? I
Hey,
don't know if it's legal or pricing. Pricing will keep me up at night.
I'm fine. Pricing, I'm okay. Legal, I hate it. But yeah, I think to springboard off what you said, Nikki, when I thought about going out on my own, I was actually deeply thrilled and excited by all of those bits, except legal, that were not doing the work. And I feel actually having a background in either agencies or consulting really gives you a leg up because essentially that's what you're doing. You're consulting for yourself. So I actually felt really confident about a lot of those things in terms of client management, BD, pricing, because I'd seen how it had been done in some really fantastic consulting firms from the inside. And so I actually felt really quite confident about so much of the business. And frankly, that's the bit I love. I love thinking about positioning. I love thinking about products. I love thinking about growth. I actually really enjoy business development. I love sales. I love hiring, team growth, team development, firm development. All of that stuff really lights me up. I realized I'd spent quite a long time of my career asking to be put in charge of something because I thought I'd do a really good job, and it was not happening. I do not have that moment in my career that I feel like I've seen in so many memoirs or TED Talks where someone says, and then I was tapped on the shoulder and asked to head up our new product division. Like, that didn't happen to me. And I realized, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. I'm going to make it happen for myself. I want to manage a team. Fine. I'll build a company and I'll hire a team and I'll make a profitable company where I get the opportunities and no one's going to give them to me. I'm going to build them and I'm going to do it for myself. And I got to tell you, I feel so excited and lit up every day that I look at my little company and realize I'm doing it. And there was something particularly about that process of the first hire, but actually the second hire for me was when I felt like it was a company. Because when you have two employees, then it's like, oh, do we need a team meeting? We need a team meeting. We must be a team. And if we're a team, it must be a company. Like that to me felt super, super exciting and a real growth moment and an inflection point because it reflected the number of clients, the amount of work, how many projects we had on that I needed to have a team of that size. And that was really exciting to me. The one thing I do want to say in terms of your question was like, what does it take to get started and what does it take to be successful, which are obviously two different things. But for me, something that was really critical with getting started, I just want to acknowledge the privilege that I had to even take this step. So for me, I have a work history that had been pretty consistent. There aren't large gaps in my CV in pretty well-paying industries. That meant I had a nest egg, I had some savings, and that gave me a financial cushion. On top of that, I have a partner who has a full-time steady job with a good salary and good wages. And that meant that the financial risk for me taking this step was much lower than it would be for many other people. I don't have any children. I don't have any dependents. If it all went wrong and I didn't make any money for 2 years, my financial situation would be okay. And that is not the reality for so many people out there. And I think sometimes when we have these conversations and we talk about the individual characteristics of founders, we neglect to discuss the systemic realities that make it easier for some people to take that step rather than others.
Yeah. So, Ruby, your answer kind of surprises me. I know we talked about this before that I won't say you don't love the research anymore, but you really are gravitating and loving the business side of things. So tell me a little bit more about that. Does that surprise you? And why is that the case?
No, it didn't surprise me at all. I think a lot of it has to do with how I think about my career and the skills that I've developed over the course of my career. I always really called myself a generalist. And I think actually that's why I probably spent such a long time in consulting because you really get to hold on to that title. You don't have to declare a certain kind of industry specialization until you're really quite senior. You get to do so many different things, even though in my last consulting gig, I was a strategic designer. There's still a lot of diversity inside of that. So I think the fact that the UX researcher, when I went in-house, was the most specific title that I'd ever had. And in some ways, that almost scared me more because I worried I was sort of pigeonholing myself. It was totally unsurprising to me that when I had this opportunity and I had the ability to try out so many different things, that I was going to find that really exciting. And there had been a lot of moments in my career where I thought about things going different ways. I have had moments over the kind of past 5 years where I applied for jobs in so many different kind of areas. Product management was a big one I looked at getting into for a while. So I applied for product manager and product owner roles. Continuing to go down more of the strategy route was definitely something that I looked at. Innovation roles, transformation roles. There were so many different things that were on the table for me that it's not surprising to me that in a role that is essentially very generalist in terms of being a founder and building a business, that I get a lot of excitement from that. And I think what I love about where I am right now is it has a pretty good combination of that kind of cerebral strategic work, but also quite hands-on work. So for example, in my business, we do B2B work with clients, and that's very strategic. But then some of the work that I get to do around things, developing courses and trying out marketing and positioning and running little experiments on that through my social media or through emails and things like this, and looking at conversion rates and these real like product manager type of skill sets. I really enjoy that. I was a generalist at heart. I'm still a generalist at heart. And I think in some ways this role is just a great fit for who I think I am.
Yeah, that makes sense. There is a lot of project management when you're running your own business, for sure. So what surprised you the most about creating your own consultancy firm? Nikki, what are your thoughts?
The most surprising part for me, I'm trying to think of some wow moments. So one really positive one that I will bring up is one of the most surprising things, especially when it comes around to the content creation and sharing with others. One thing that surprised me a lot was like the number of really kind messages that I got from people. I wasn't expecting, and I still never do expect people to reach out and be, thank you so much, because that's not why I put it out there. But something that surprised me a lot was people who reached out to me saying, thank you so much. This really resonated and this really helped. And I think that to me was, oh, wow, I didn't realize how many people were really feeling lonely, confused, and overwhelmed and just really lost within that space. And I think that has helped me quite a lot with understanding then, okay, where can I fill those gaps for people? So unlike Ruby, I'm actually not a generalist. I never have been. That's not my forte. I force it quite a lot because of the nature of business, but I have pockets of things that I really like community spaces, like community-based things. And I love writing, right? And I love research. So a lot of the things that you see me do are little experiments of things that oh wait, never mind. I cannot put together a course. I hate it. I hate courses so much. And I see Ruby just like on Maven, just like course. And I'm just, Ruby, yes, you do your courses and I'm going to go over and write some articles, right? And so I think that something that did surprise me is, yes, that community aspect and people feeling really lost and trying to help that space. But I also found out a lot about myself, about the things that I really don't like to do and like how I actually like to show up in the world, not just like show up in general, but in front of a lot of people and the type of work that I like to do. And it definitely helped me hone, and I'm continuing to hone that and understand, okay, and it's this really tough balance always between what do I love to do versus revenue and generating revenue, and trying to marry those two things together to the best of the ability, which is a lot of businesses. I am starting to shift more towards a lot of more community spaces, a lot more consultancy work than I used to do, a lot more content-based work, because that is stuff that I do enjoy that doesn't drain me completely.
Great.
Yeah.
How about you, Ruby?
I think the thing that surprised me the most, it's going to sound so simplistic, but you can just do things. And I feel like I am someone that has been honestly quite structured, probably in the way that I approached my career, and probably on the lower side of risk appetite. I pursued roles in established companies, in corporate spaces, in kind of well-known industries. And those are hard to get, but they are not very high risk. Like once you're in, and if you're a strong performer, you're going to probably build a really good career. And if the economy, goes well, that could be it. And honestly, I think if I hadn't left Australia, I would probably still be working at the same place I worked back then because I really enjoyed it. Like I was having a great time. It was a great place, awesome colleagues, good work. Everything was going really well. And when I started my company, I just felt like it was a moment of kind of expanding my sense of the possible and realizing that you can just do things. And everyone who ever started a company just started doing it. And then they kept doing it. And then they kept doing it. And this just constantly takes me by surprise. And I love surrounding myself with other people who are doing new things and experimenting with new things. You can just start a newsletter. You can just start content creation. You can just build a community. You can just list a course on Maven. You can just go out and sell a consulting offer to a client or sell a training workshop to a client. You can just do that mostly. There are obviously some constraints. For example, I've been on visas that limited my ability to earn money outside of the company that I was working for. And you couldn't be a director of a company and things like this. There are not no constraints. And it bothers me sometimes when people, we all have the same 24 hours. What a lie. There are some constraints that are very real. And I do want to totally acknowledge them. But I could have taken more risks in my career. I could have tried more things, experimented with more things, been more proactive. But I think many folks, particularly those of us who are women, are often raised to seek permission, not forgiveness, and to be given an opportunity and to be invited to take part. This is all for really good reasons. As in, we have been socialized in that way. So it's very understandable that we feel like that. Many of us have tried, for example, to enter a space and been told explicitly, you're not welcome. And so we think, okay, well, let's wait to be invited so we don't have that really awful experience again. It's really understandable how you get to feel this way. But it constantly shocks me that I can just do stuff. I can just say to Nikki, let's do a LinkedIn Live event and let's just send out an invitation. Let's make it free and we'll probably get a couple of hundred signups and we can do that tomorrow. It sounds so minor, but that actually blows my mind about this entrepreneurship thing, that you can just do it.
I love that so much. I'm more risk-based. So a lot of the decisions that I've made throughout my life, not just professionally in jobs, because I took jobs at startups, I moved around quite a lot and was quite risky with those jobs, but also personally, I took a lot of risks as well in terms of relationships or moving abroad or just leaving things behind and being, I'm going to dye my hair and move, like those kinds of things. That's always been a vibe of mine, to detriment sometimes, right? But it has been very helpful because I am like, let's just try it and let's see how it goes. And let's see if it fails, it's okay. Well, that I'm still working on. But like I just posted in that community space the other day being like, boo-hoo, my AI prompt library didn't sell as well as I thought it would. And I'm depressed and sad. And I just watched the whole Twilight series on Tuesday. But I think that's a really great point about it's okay. You don't need permission to take some risks and you can do it in small, manageable ways. You can MVP your risks. You can just go and do something small and try to write one newsletter, write one post, write one article, do one video. It doesn't have to be perfectly edited. It doesn't have to be curated and amazing and the best thing that anybody's ever written. Try it out, see how it goes. Do you enjoy it? Yes. Keep trying it. No, try something new and do the small things because they add up to the big things.
I'm going to rudely interrupt this fantastic conversation for just 1 second and say, hey, are you finding value in these interviews I'm having on BlatzChatz? If you are, give me a like and let me know in the comments to keep it coming. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I think we often talk about being willing to fail and being willing to kind of fail in public. But for me, there was even a step before that, which is like being willing to be seen to be trying. And that, I think, for some people is the ultimate cringe. They do not want to show up in a space as not an expert and to be seen to be trying to improve themselves. And I probably would have put myself into this category a number of years ago. I wouldn't have admitted it, but I think on reflection, I probably fell into that category. And for me, content creation has just been the best desensitization to that, because I'm going to be on LinkedIn 5 days a week putting out something, and the majority of my content will not perform very well. But I keep showing up and I keep trying, and every now and again, it makes sense. either it will go really well and get lots of impressions or engagements, or a really interesting person will DM me, or it'll lead to a client contact or an opportunity. There are just so many ways that can pay dividends, but being willing to be seen to be trying is really important. And you have to kind of grapple with that, because it's only cringe until you make it. And then once you make it, you'll have someone you've never met come up to you and say, I love your work. And boy, that is so rewarding.
Yeah, that's probably the most rewarding feeling ever. It's like, oh, I've been following you for such a long time. I love your stuff. And I feel like I'm just screaming into a void most days. And I'm hoping that maybe one person might hear and find it helpful. But it's a lot of showing up when you don't want to.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I've been trying to think a lot about failure recently and what failure means. And I'm failing in new ways all of the time. And in some ways, that to me is kind of exciting. And I read Adam Grant's book, I think it was Hidden Potential, when he talks about this phenomenon of polyglots and people who speak multiple languages. The advice they give is you have to make more mistakes than other people make attempts. You have to put yourself out there and try and mess up, but you're doing that more than someone else is even trying. And I think about that a lot with so many elements of how I run my business. I'm writing more bad LinkedIn posts than other people are writing at all. I'm submitting more proposals that I lose than other people submit at all. I'm applying to more conferences and getting rejected than other people are applying in some. And in some ways, it is that large numbers game that keeps you in it. And it also builds my resilience. And I learn something every time. Like, okay, that positioning wasn't quite right. Interesting. Posting at 9 p.m. was no good. Whatever it is, as long as you are learning from those experiments, it's incredibly valuable if you can just have that resilience to keep putting yourself out there and keep trying.
I'm with you there on the content creation, right? Just some things do well, some things don't, but at least I'm trying to contribute in a positive way and getting myself out there and sharing my point of view, which a lot of people probably don't like. They probably don't like that I fucking curse like a sailor, but I don't really care because that's me. I think there's a great theme there around risk, right? You got me thinking. It gives me a little bit of chills. Like in everything that we do, how does risk inform your decisions or prohibit you from doing something? And how does your acceptance or tolerance of risk change through your life cycle or through your seasons? Oh, it's such good stuff. I'd love to ask you though, if a good friend of yours came up to you and said, hey, I'm thinking of striking out and doing my own thing and creating my own UX consultancy, what raw advice would you give them?
Two things come to my mind straight away. So the first one is to have a considered look at your financial position and make sure that's a risk that you are in a position to take, and to be really frank with yourself about whether or not that is the case. The second one would be to definitely come to terms with the discussion we had earlier about the reality of founding an agency and what that means in terms of the distribution of your time. So I think about my time as being split between three things. The first one is project delivery. The second one is winning business. And the third one is firm development. And the more senior you are in that structure, the more of your time is going to be devoted towards firm development and to winning business, and the less of your time is going to be devoted towards delivering the work. And I would argue that for the founder or for the managing director, that firm development is really going to take up more of your time than any singular person inside that business, unless you're at the point where you're hiring a COO, for example, which is probably somewhere down the line. So I think you really have to grapple with the reality of those three chunks. And if you're somebody that actually just loves delivering the work, I think that's a sign to either pursue a role in different structure, or at a minimum, find a co-founder who's really keen to do that side of things that will allow you to play to your strengths.
Yeah, I will echo the financial piece a lot. Don't think just of your current finances, think about your future finances as well. So circumstances change. And as I said, last year was one of the hardest years in my entire life, probably generally, but my financial situation changed considerably. I went from dual income to single income and responsible for from splitting pets to now full responsibility of pets, right? So like think through not just your current financial, but okay, if circumstances change, or what does the future look like? What do I want for the future? Because you can't guarantee. If you're salaried, there's a little bit of a guarantee on what you're going to make, right? Whereas if you are consultancy work, your months will fluctuate based on whatever trends, wherever you're located, whatever industry you're in, there are trends. I could have a fantastic November because of Black Friday, right? Because of that. And then January is one of the hardest months for me because of how things work within the space that I'm in, especially for my B2C work. So people like paying for content, people paying for mentorship, membership, like all those things people have New Year's resolutions of saving money. And so things like that get cut, right? So I would highly echo that understanding of your finances in a really brutalist way and being really brutal with it. The other thing that I would really think about is, what do you really, really love to do? Because part of why we break out on our own is because we are not getting some sort of fulfillment from our current thing that we're doing. And can you find that fulfillment in what you are trying to break out into, right? So what is it that you're really looking for? Because it might not be starting your own consultancy, or it might be, Ruby, I love that you will find somebody else, because you don't have to do it all on your own, right? You can find somebody else and work with them, or you could join a team that's small, that's growing in that space to understand, oh, do I actually like this? And then break out on your own. There can be so many steps that you can take to get to that point. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just that you're hating where you are currently, but you still love to do hands-on work. So maybe an agency. If you're full-time, try an agency and see what that's like, or try part-time work and see that's alongside doing something else that you might love to do. But I think it starts first with, what are the responsibilities you have financially in the current and in the potential future? Looking hard at that to truly understand what that looks like, and what are you trying to get fulfillment from? What fulfillment are you trying to get, and what are you chasing? Because yes, I can go surfing on a Wednesday afternoon or potentially a Thursday morning or something like that. Yes. But every single time I go on holiday, I can't tell somebody to take over for me. So I am answering emails, right? So understanding the trade-offs is really important.
Yeah, I want to make two more comments about some of the realities of this as well. The first one is around opportunity cost. So a lot of people said to me, doesn't really matter if it doesn't work out. You haven't lost anything if you just try this for a couple of years, but you have to consider what is the alternative and what kind of money might you have been making under the alternative scenario. So for example, you are resigning from your job to found something yourself and you're making, let's say, $10,000 a month in your job. The opportunity cost per month is actually $10,000. So if you give yourself a 2-year runway, we're now looking at 24 that I'm going to mess up the maths. We're looking at a lot of money, right? That is potentially on the line here, $240,000. That's the opportunity cost, actually. And so if you think about also what it means to then run a profitable agency or be a profitable freelancer, suddenly you're having to hit $250,000 in your first 2 years to kind of make it actually break even, given the opportunity cost. That opportunity cost is going to look really different depending on your scenarios. For example, I was coming off the back of a layoff, so the opportunity cost was really different because suddenly I was essentially jobless, but that is definitely something to keep in mind. The other thing is, jobs provide you a lot more than just a salary. Let's think about, as Nikki was saying, vacation. So often most jobs in this kind of space that would be alternatives to founding will provide you paid vacation and sick days. They'll provide you someone to take over so you can actually have a real holiday. They might provide you health insurance. They might provide you a visa. They might be providing you pension money for your 401k or superannuation or your pension. They will be structuring the total compensation in a way that can take the load off having to consider some of these things in the future. And of course, for people who want to be parents, often these jobs will provide you guaranteed parental leave. In different countries, that's going to look really different. Sometimes that'll be at full pay. Other times it'll be just preserving your job so that you can take off 3, 6, or 12 months and have a guaranteed role when you come back. But when you're in this kind of situation, if you take off 12 months, you've essentially paused your business for that time, and you can't necessarily just flick the switch to come back. So these are very real other things that come along with being in a structured environment, particularly a larger organization, that are just not the realities when you're out on your own.
I think those are fair things to consider, right? And I'm not sure that a lot of people really understand what is that overhead that you're actually going to have to pay for that your company absorbed when you work for them. Now you're going to be responsible for that, and you're going to have to take that out of your profits from your business.
The
Tools
flip
are
side
so
of
expensive.
Yeah, the flip side, of course, is there is no limit to how much you can make when you're out on your own. And when you have a good month, it is phenomenal. Like the best months I've had in my business are approaching like 6 figures in a month. Like that's wild, right? And I would never get that unless I don't even know how senior you would have to be looking at that. So there is obviously an upside, but this comes back to your theme, Jen, of risk. The risk is just greater. The downside is much larger, but the upside, if you can nail it, that's what keeps us going.
Absolutely. I haven't hit the nearly 6-figure months, but having consistent 5-figure months is a huge thing that like not a lot of people can accomplish depending on the constraints within an organization where they're living. There's a lot that can go into that, whereas the ceiling isn't the same within your own business. And you do have to relate back, like time is money, right? So your time, every moment that you spend is a potential cost or benefit, right? And I think that that is a very interesting thing to play around with, of like maximizing where you put your energy. And that's something that's I'm trying to do better with this year. And it's a hard one, but it is very gratifying when you see that start to come together a little bit better and you understand these things a little bit more. And you're, oh, that works. That didn't work. Fine, let's put that away. This really does work. Let's go. Let's push that. And there's a lot of pushing out of the comfort zone, which is really fun and cool to be able to do.
Agree.
Wow, thank you so much for all of this. This is so good. Gold right here. If you're really thinking about whether you should go out on your own or you should not, there's a lot of things to consider. I'm going to say thanks for kind of being a little bit of a buzzkill, because now you've got me thinking about a lot of other things. But also, you said the reaping of the rewards is really great too. So thank you for that. I would like to wrap up today with just one more quick question, and that is, where can people find you these days? How about you, Nikki? Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, sure. I am on LinkedIn posting things quite frequently. So you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I also have a Substack where I post very regularly content, both free and paid. And then my membership is on top of that as well, which is just on my website. I post about it quite a lot to try and get that excitement going. So yeah, that's kind of where I am hanging out.
Great. And I'll definitely include all the links to all this goodness. But Ruby, where can people find you?
You can also find me on LinkedIn. If you just look up my name, you'll find me posting about a lot of things to do with UX research and also living and working in Southeast Asia as well. I have a Maven course, Level Up the Impact of Your UX Research, which is all about writing skills for UX researchers. The next cohort is in May, which I think is wonderful timing if you're listening to this right now.
Yes, great. Like Nikki said, Ruby's doing a lot of courses, and courses are not easy work to put together. So that huge kudos to creating courses for sure. Well, I'll wrap up today, ladies, saying thank you so much for your time. This has been it's been an awesome, I was going to say vacation. It's been an awesome conversation. So again, thank you so much.
It's a vacation from work. Vacation from work. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jen.
Woo, that was an awesome conversation, wasn't it? Thank you so much for joining us on BlatzChatz. Until next time, bye.